What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 160 of the Rise to Glory here with Gibraltar Apex, and today it's the start of Season 22 here, and we're going to be starting with the Pedro Ramirez Cup against Gibraltar Lions. So, if you missed the last few episodes, it's of course been our international kind of excursion. We went and played in the Euros. You'll notice it's now September, it's the start of the Gibraltarian football season. I did play a few national team games just kind of off camera. You can see them here. We beat Wales 1-0, and we also beat Norway 1-0. So 2 1-0s, kind of doing a bit of a Leicester, and hopefully that can kind of continue, because if we can continue to win, we might have an outside chance of promotion from the European League. Anyway, that's not the focus of today's episode. We've had a brief kind of excursion, as I mentioned, with the international team. Today, it's all about club football. It's all about what have we done over the summer, where are we going. The thing I want to start with actually is showing off all the kits. So if you don't know, a few seasons ago now, I asked you guys, the viewers, to send in kits. I talked about it in the end of season review last season. And a massive thank you to everyone who sent in kits. I'm going to quickly flick through all the different sides in Gibraltar, and hopefully those of you who sent kits got yours in. Obviously, as I mentioned, I had over, I think, 150 kits submitted, so I couldn't pick everyone's. I have a big folder with every single kit, so who knows, maybe we'll switch them out as the seasons go on. But these are the ones that we've got for now, so I'm afraid I've not kept track of who made all these kits, but I'm just going to really quickly flick through them. Let me know in the comment section which is your favourite. So we have here Cannons FCs, we then have College Europa, that was a kit that I'd already made. We then have Gibraltar Apex, of course, another kit that I'd made, and now we move on to some of yours. So Gibraltar Lions here, sponsored by Tesla. They've got a kind of cool kit, if you ask me. I like the kind of claw marks down that shoulder there. Anyway, Glasses United, I like these ones because they were just a little bit different. They were a little bit kind of quirky. I kind of like this design with all the stars that are kind of prevalent on the Glasses United logo as well. Valio FC, we have this kit here, sponsored by Sony Ericsson, and a New Balance kit, a really nice kit actually. I like how clean and simple those ones are. Anyway, we then have Lincoln Red Imps. Again, I like this kit, sponsored by Fly Emirates. Yeah, look really cool, these kits. Again, I feel like there's only so much I can say about all these different kits, other than obviously the ones I've picked are the ones that I like the most. And they just look really cool, and I'm very grateful to everyone who got involved and did send in kits, as I said, and I'll say again, and I feel like I'll probably go on about it a lot. Apologies if your kit didn't make it in. There were just so many good submissions. It made it very difficult for me to try and kind of pick out a set for every single team, but miraculously we did get a kit for every single team, so that was kind of nice. The fact that we had so many sent in, because I was worried that, you know, some of the more popular teams perhaps in the Primera division would get kits and no one else would, but the way things kind of worked out, we got a really nice kind of variety of kits, and I think every single team got covered, which is really, really good. And as I said, and I'll say again, thank you for sending in your kits. I really like this Gibraltar Phoenix away kit. That's a really cool design with the kind of the flames coming up. Anyway, Gibraltar United there, simple and clean. I like it. Really suits kind of that style. FC Hound Dogs there, sponsored by Turkish Airlines. Mons Calpe, sponsored by Red Bull. Olympique, sponsored by Betway. Red Imps, which of course similar to the Lincoln side in the Primera division, but they have got a slightly different kit, which I like. We then have St. Joseph's, again sponsored by Hyundai, and we're back to the start. So those are the kits. Just kind of a brief little adventure there to look through all the different teams. If you liked any kits, as I said, let me know which your favourite were down below. And yeah, let's kick off into today's episode. You'll notice, Jack, your squad's massive. We'll get into that. Let's talk about the transfers. Let's start with the stuff that people care about. One transfer that's kind of in progress and isn't going to be happening actually until Christmas. And that is Rafael Arredondo. What a name. Mexican, 17 years old, centre-back, a good player, picking him up for fairly cheap, if I remember correctly. 6.5 million, not as cheap as I remembered. But he's a good player. He's a very good centre-back. He's only 17. Lots of potential about him according to my scouts, could improve a lot. Susceptible to injuries, but I'm willing to look beyond that. And he can also play right back, which is kind of nice. Anyway, let's look at the transfers on the ins. Now, in terms of the outs, actually, let's talk about the outs real quick. So there were a few. We actually sold Fernando Oliveira, and I managed to get some decent money for him. I sold him to Everton for £13.5 million. He was a player last year who I brought in for £13 million. And he played amazingly in the league, but in Europe he never quite showed up. He wanted regular first-team football. I couldn't offer him it. I was hoping just to kind of sell him on for what we paid, because I felt like £13 million at the time was a little excessive. Everton came in with a £13.5 million bid, willingly accepted that immediately, so he's on his bike. And the other player we sold out, who I didn't really want to sell, but Tobias Vosek, that probably is how you say his name, because he is German. We sold him to Lincoln Red Imps, and we sold him for a lot of money. £15 million, which was one of the biggest fees kind of spent by a Gibraltarian side outside of ourselves and Gibraltar Lions. He's a great player, 18 years old. I'm hoping they're going to nurture him. I've kind of sold him on because I'm not sure he'll ever break into our first team. And I'm hoping that Lincoln Red Imps can treat the 18-year-old well, a player with some potential, and hopefully he can live up to it at another club in Gibraltar. Anyway, let's move on to the ins. You'll notice here a lot of players coming in from championship sides. I'll talk about that in a second when we get to it, but we'll start with the first transfer here, which was Gary Horst from Gibraltar Lions. Of course, Gibraltarian national team captain. I needed a new centre-back. I needed some kind of backup in that position. And I think Horst is going to offer that in kind of abundance. Obviously, I've not got to worry about him being dropped from the Gibraltar national team because I'm the manager there and he'll forever have a spot there. We actually paid a release clause in his contract of £170,000. I'm amazed no one else had ever triggered that, but I'm not going to complain. We've got him in. The next player we have in, Junior. Now, this guy, 18 years old. How much did I spend? I spent £5.5 million, and to be honest, the only reason I signed him was because I thought he looked okay, and I sent a scout report, and the scouts came back and were like, sign him at all costs. And perhaps that isn't kind of too representative with the coach report here from McNeice, which is well, you can see his judging and ability and potential here. But if we just change it to one of our other kind of more reliable kind of coaching members, you can see here a lot of my coaches back this guy to have a lot of potential, and I'm willing to listen to the people who have good judging potential and good judging ability. They're the people I care about. Obviously, consistent performer. And he's 18. I'm excited to see what he can do. Very good physically, good kind of strength, good kind of speed in general. All of those physicals with the exception of his jumping reach, which I don't really care about as a fullback, are great. Also got good marking and tackling, which is useful in a fullback. And his mentals aren't too bad either. So we'll see what he can do. Again, much like last year, to be honest, I have signed a lot of younger players. I have also added a little bit more depth to the first team, but to be honest, I feel like I might have gone a little bit too far with it, to the stage where I'm probably going to be selling on some of the players I bought in the summer, kind of in the next transfer window, which is really stupid of me, but I feel like I got caught up kind of in the mindset of wanting to bring in immediate reinforcements, when in reality, the spots that those players were coming in and taking are spots that I should really be leaving open to the talented youngsters at the club to try and fulfill. Anyway, here we have Noriko, 24 years old, a useful little winger, right winger. You can see signed from Sevilla for £2.4 million. He comes in as a backup. That's what he's here to do, really. With Rivera leaving, we needed some backup. We've got him. We then have Diego Teixeira, and this is one of the players who I've kind of brought in, and I'm kind of sat now thinking, did I really need him? And the answer is no. He's kicked up a bit of a fuss because I've left him out the Champions League squad. We signed him for £4.6 million from Real Madrid, and to be honest, he's a Uruguayan international with a ton of kind of ability. My plan is to play him in a few league games, hope that he puts in some really good performances, and then just look to sell him maybe in January, if not in the summer, for a little bit of profit, if possible. We'll see how that goes, really. As I said, a bit of a mistake there. Anyway, the next player we have is Magni. This guy, Italian international, left winger. We need a player to compete with Smith. We need a player to be back up to Smith on the left-hand side. I think this guy can do a job for us. He came in for a really modest fee of £5.25 million. I'm pretty happy with that. We've got him from Stuttgart, who just weren't playing him a lot. I think he's a good player, exceptional acceleration, decent pace as well. Got the kind of ability and the core areas of a winger that you look for, and he is very, very technically gifted, so we'll see what he can do for us. At 25, I'm not expecting him to improve a ton, but as a modest kind of bit of backup, I think he's going to do a job for us. Anyway, the next player we have is Pedro Ramirez, on loan from Atletico, just more coverage in the centre-back position. I noticed in the comments, I think, of the last end of season review, it might have even been the Champions League final, people were criticising Mustafa, saying, Jack, you need to get rid of Mustafa. Liability now. Get rid of him. I thought that was mental. I thought that was absolutely mental that people were suggesting that, if I'm honest. Just because I know he made a few mistakes perhaps in critical games, but if you look at his average ratings across the board, and I have to be honest, ignore the league because that's inflated, but if you just stare at the third kind of value here, the middle one, which is continental, 7.25, 7.78, 7.71, 7.32, 7.7. He's exceptional for me, and I feel like those kind of performances, if your centre-back is averaging above a 7.5 average rating across 5 years in Europe, and you're going to drop him for one or two mistakes, that one proved critical, one certainly didn't, I just think that's mad. He's 27, he's been at the club for such a long time, and no, he's not being replaced. I know people are calling for his head, so I want to make that clear, but Pedro Ramirez does come in as a bit of backup. If we want to change things up, if we have a problem with our centre-backs, Pedro is a man who can come in alongside Gary Horst and certainly do a job for us. Anyway, the next player we have is Vinicius. That's probably not how you say his name, but it sounds good, doesn't it? Brazilian, a player whose transfer was actually organised last year. Really good wonder kid. Great deep line playmaker. We signed him from Santos. He is in our first team. Perhaps should move him to the reserves for more football. But you can see here, £6 million paid. He's been doing exceptional for Santos in the kind of Brazilian top flight. And I'm hoping he can do that for us as well when we call upon him, because he is only young. And yeah, I'm quite excited for his future. Anyway, next players, they're all the Championship players. Jack, why have you signed a load of Championship players? There is method in my madness. So, one of the issues I've got basically is that I need players for the national team. So this is a little bit cheesy, but I'm hoping people will look by it and see that the intent that I have is positive long run. I've essentially signed a lot of the best Championship youngsters. I'm going to quickly flick through them here as I explain what my thinking is. But these players, they're good players and they're good young English players. But most of them are never going to play for the English national team. So the majority of these players are, well, they are all, I believe, of 18 years of age or older. And they're all on 5-year deals at least. And my thinking here is, we bring them in, we let them play, and we let them try and take up nationality here in Gibraltar, and then use them in the national team. Because these are players, they're not good enough to play for England, but they may well be good enough to come in and be backup for us. And whilst certainly I think there'll be more players eligible for Gibraltar through playing for other Gibraltarian teams, I do think it's important that I have some players of my own here that are very likely to play for Gibraltar in the future. I really like this guy, actually, Alex Atkinson. He's actually gone on loan to Manchester 62, and he's a very good winger. A winger is an area that we need players in, and yes, I am planning kind of 5 years ahead here with a lot of these signings, but I feel like a lot of these players can come good. And for example, someone like Atkinson now, he'd probably go straight into the first team anyway if he was eligible for Gibraltar. So hopefully, you know, with 5 years to kind of develop these players, they're going to be in their early 20s. They're going to be, you know, declaring for Gibraltar at a fairly young age. One of the things I've noticed is with the Gibraltar national team is it's an ageing side. And the reason for that is that they're all pretty much foreign imports at this point. They have to spend 5 years in Gibraltar after the age of 18. The youngest a player could be to be eligible for Gibraltar, obviously, is like 23, 24. But the majority of these players are coming in their mid-20s, and so it's kind of, they're in their 30s by the time they're eligible. I kind of want to try and solve that cycle. So I have brought in a lot of English players. I have also brought in a few players from Spain, because again, the Spanish team, an incredibly competitive national team. And I'm hoping a few of these players, again, will go on and hopefully develop enough to be good enough for Gibraltar, but not be too good, so that they end up playing for their actual kind of national team, because that's not what I want. But there's some good players here. Obviously, they're never really going to play for us. And, you know, if we need to, if we want to, we could potentially sell some of these on to other Gibraltarian sides. You can see a few of them on loan at other Gibraltarian sides already. Anyway, let's continue on with the rest of the players now. We start off with Nardini, coming in from Corinthians, 18 years old, good deep line playmaker, got good vision, good passing. A player with some potential, not a ton of it, at least in the judgment of McNeese, or in fact, Crudell, actually, it's now defaulting to because I've selected Crudell. Next player we have is Alfie Stanard, an English player again who we've brought in from Brentford there. We then have a few more kind of fairly good players, actually. Edson here, really excited about this guy, 18 years old, Brazilian. We arranged his transfer, I think, a little while ago now, but he comes in for £2.7 million from Cruzeiro. Great player, either-footed, can move into channels, shoots with power, international experience in the under-21s for Brazil. I'm excited by him. We then have Jim here. Jim, another one of the foreign imports from England. Please be eligible, Jim, in 5 years' time. We then have two more players, both players who I think are very good. The first player actually here, Diego, I kind of signed whilst looking for players who I thought would be good enough for the Gibraltar national team, but wouldn't play for their own nation. So Diego here, Spanish. I found him playing in the kind of second tier of Spain in Liga Adelante. We've signed him for £1.4 million. That's a really cheap fee. He's only 19. Probably could sell him on for some money. If not, I'm hoping he will decide he wants to play for Gibraltar. Anyway, the last player we have, I think this was the most expensive transfer of the window. It was, and by quite some margin. And actually, you can see here, we spent £73 million, which, when you consider the amount of youngsters we brought in, is a little bit mental. But I'm willing to look past it because I do think there's some good players here. And to be honest, people were calling out for improvements to the first team. I saw people talking about, Jack, please replace Ludwig Young. Honestly, I've looked for goalkeepers. You can see here I even have it left open as my last search, actually. I've looked through these goalkeepers. I looked at Hamid Bar. People saying, Jack, just bring Hamid Bar back. Hamid Bar isn't that much better than Young. It's a weird predicament I've got at the moment, really, with Ludwig Young, because the star ratings that my coaches and stuff rate him as, I think are really, really harsh, and he is on the decline, and I do need a goalkeeper solution long term. That said, I've got those solutions just sat in my reserves developing. We have here Luca Veronese, the Italian, very good player, developed a lot, playing for the under-21s for Italy, aged 18. He's going to be a class goalkeeper in a few years. And we also have here Echeverria. That's probably not how you say his name, but of course this guy actually generated at our club. Really talented Spanish goalkeeper. I'm hoping one of these two players is really going to come of age in the next few years, and by the time kind of Young is, 34, 35, which, for a goalkeeper isn't too old really, one of those players will hopefully be first team ready just to take the mantle. As I said, I've looked at goalkeepers. One of the players I really, really wanted to get was this guy, Dylan Hughes. I bid £60 million. They rejected it. Swansea were not having any of it, and I've noticed that being a common trend here with a lot of these kind of players that I'm kind of wanting to sign. Is the simple kind of fact of the matter is the teams don't want to sell them, and the players, they're good, yes, they are an improvement, but in a lot of cases it's just they're not worth spending £80 million when I think that Young is a pretty adequate goalkeeper for us. And you look at his career stats, obviously domestically last year wasn't his greatest year, but in Europe last year he still averaged above a 7.0 average rating, which I kind of see as a benchmark for goalkeepers, because I feel like their goalkeeper ratings in FM are really harsh anyway. But anyway, that's why Ludwig Young is still in the first team. I have still got a ton of money left to spend. We still have £100 million in the bank. If the right goalkeeper came along, maybe I'd kind of bite. But as I said, there isn't really that many goalkeepers out there who offer me good value for money in terms of the improvement they'd offer. And particularly considering the fact I've got two very, very good young goalkeepers kind of in the ranks, I don't want to spend £60 million on a goalkeeper just to have them kind of sold on in, 2 or 3, 4 years' time, because I've got another new goalkeeper who's probably better than them. Anyway, there's one player I've not talked about yet. I've gone off on a tangent. Let's talk about him. It's Drew Espinosa, 16 years old. My scout found him in Germany, and when he found him, I got excited. He's very good, this guy. 16 years old, German. Great physicals, only one below 10, got good acceleration, good pace, which is what you kind of look for in your winger. Worth noting, only 16 years old, 20 determination, that is instantly kind of an instant win in my book. Great work rate as well for his age. He's got some good flair, off the ball isn't great, but that can be improved. And his technicals, whilst you might think, wow, there's loads there that aren't blue, that's the weak area of his game. I think it's worth noting the fact that the majority are on 8 or 9. I mean, he's got 15 crossing already and good technique for a winger age 16. I think he's got a ton of potential. He can also play down the centre or as a striker as well, which is really nice. And actually, when you look at his attributes, kind of the big, kind of grander scheme of things, he has 4 below 8 and he's 16. Bravery, tackling, marking and long throws. Not really ones that I'm too worried about, if I'm honest, with a winger. Perhaps bravery would be nice, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. This guy, ton of talent. You can see his potential ability is kind of driven, I was about to say, really kind of through the roof. And then I read driven here on his personality, which is another plus of him. I'm excited to see what he can do. His dribbling's not great. You can see that is kind of identified as his weakness. I'm actually training him as a complete forward right now, which might seem a little bit mad considering you kind of look at him and go, well, he's going to be a winger. He is. The reason I'm training him to be a complete forward is because it just covers so many different areas of his game. I want his mentals to improve as well as they can in terms of roundedness. Obviously, his physicals get a lot of attention through doing complete forward, and a ton of the technicals that I like to see in a kind of an attacking player going forward also get addressed, which is nice. And his crossing, which is one of the few which doesn't get addressed, which normally if I was going to have a winger, I'd be a little bit worried about, is already 15, so I don't feel like he needs too much focus on that. And 16, 20 determination. I like him. £60 million paid, probably overpaid. I kind of feel like that's been the hallmark of this save recently, actually, is overpaying over the last few seasons. But with the money that we have, we can kind of afford to do just that. So anyway, that's it. That's kind of the transfers. As I said, I feel like I brought in a few too many players. I feel like the squad's got a little bit bloated and it is going to need a bit of a cut down. But I'd rather have a squad that's too big than a squad that's too small and we suffer from a load of injuries. Anyway, I do quickly want to talk about the transfers that went on in the division in terms of by other teams, because I do think it's interesting and worth talking about. So with Gibraltar Lions here, they spent £38 million, which obviously not quite as much as us, but they did spend big. They're signing players now from kind of AC Milan. You can see here they got in Ignacio Benitez, who is a really talented Argentine kind of playmaker, unfortunately out for 2 to 3 months. Elsewhere, you can see they've signed players from Braga, Olympiacos, Trabzonspor, AS Monaco as well. So they're starting to get a little bit more appeal, which is kind of interesting to see. And for example, Busaid there is not a bad player by any means. Anyway, if we quickly flick through the side, you'll see the kind of trademark underspending by a lot of other teams in the Primera Division. It is worth noting, however, they are starting to sign players from abroad. So Glasgow United, they've gone to Scotland. Of course, I think they have McVitie as their manager, so that kind of makes sense because Aaron McVitie going to be familiar with Scottish football and kind of using that to his advantage, really. You can see Leo FC, they've spent £57,000. They're just sat on their hundreds of millions of pounds at this point. We look at Lincoln Red Imps, obviously it looks like they spent a load of money because it says they spent 20 million. Obviously 15 of that was spent on Vosek. However, they did get in this guy, Mikhail, who is a Cypriot, 22 years old. They spent some pretty big money on him as well. What was it, £2.5 million? And they also brought in this guy, Vuk Getos, for a hefty fee as well. But he's a very good player, Serbian goalkeeper, and he has got an international cap for Serbia as well. So that's kind of interesting to see them kind of attracting international talent. Anyway, we now look at Lynx. They never spend money, Lynx, but they just seem to be a really stable team in the division. You look at their history, they've been in the first division mid-table for years now. And actually, they're one of the teams where if we look at the world, if I can click on the button correctly, and we go to clubs and finances, I believe they're the richest club. Are they? No, okay, I've lied. Actually, Magpies have overtaken them by £10 million. But Magpies and Lynx, they have like £300 million each. And that's mostly, that. Obviously, your value and your kind of estimated value is based off your club's bank balance, the assets in terms of players, and obviously your facilities. They don't own their stadium. You've seen the players they're buying in. I'd guesstimate they probably have over £330 million just sat in the bank, both of those sides. I don't know what's going to happen when the league reaches kind of critical mass with the reputation, if these two teams, Magpies and Lynx, are just going to go mental. But I look forward to it. It's also worth noting that Manchester 62 also spent a little bit of money. They were a little bit kind of more conservative, I guess, is the word to use. But they brought in some fairly kind of big-ish players. They signed players from England mostly. Brighton, what league are they in now? Are they in the Championship? They are. So that's kind of interesting to see teams in our league able to attract talent from the Championship now. It's of course worth noting that the Primera Division is up to 13th in the European rankings, which seems quite high until you consider that we still have a smaller league than Romania, and we've only just exceeded the Championship. So there's still a long way to go. There's teams right at the top of the European rankings that we definitely want to try and challenge with. You look at our kind of ranking as a whole, we're on the up. Last year we were 16th, this year we're 13th. And actually, with us kind of going above the Championship in terms of reputation, I've noticed our player values, again, a little bit more realistic, which is nice. Obviously, for years, people have left in the comment section, Jack, why are the values so low? Why does it say Moscow is worth 10p? I could get a Freddo for that. You can actually. But that's not the point. The point is basically that our league reputation was that of a League One side. And if you've ever managed in League One, even your best players in your team will very rarely be worth more than a few £1 million. And so we were a League One side in terms of kind of league rep, but with kind of players of world-class quality. But as a result, the game doesn't really know where to place them in terms of value. And it goes, well, this is the league they're playing in. This is what they're worth to other teams in the league. And as a result, their values were always pretty crap. Obviously, now that we've exceeded the Championship, barely, you'll notice that a lot of these values are kind of not far away from what you might expect for a Championship team. So that's kind of a sign of progress, I guess, as things have gone on. It's kind of worth noting, I guess, with ourselves this year that we didn't have the Champions League qualifying campaign, so we went straight into the group stage, which was really nice. Our reputation still sits at 3.5 stars. But yeah, we are starting to get a little bit more reputation, which is nice, and I'm hoping that we can kind of just continue to build off that going forward. Anyway, Champions League, I just mentioned it. Let's have a look at our group, and you'll see Bayern Munich, again, we play them all the time. I feel like Bayern Munich and Benfica have been two teams who just repeatedly turn up in this save and fancy a game against us. We fight them again. Also in our group is Steaua Bucharest and I was about to say Dynamo, but that's not the case. It's Shakhtar Donetsk. So we've got a Romanian team, a German team, and a Ukrainian side, which is kind of interesting. It's a group that I still expect us to go through fairly comfortably. We'll have to see how we get on there. But no, I'm kind of excited to see how this season pans out. Of course, last season, I don't want to really talk about it. I'm still a bit bitter. But we lost the Champions League final for the second year in a row. This year, the board, they love me. That's the first thing worth noting. They do love me. They love the club's stature change. If we look at transfers, they think Espinosa is going to be a good little player with his age. If we look at competition performances, in the Primera Division, we're expected to win it. In the Champions League this year, we're expected to reach the semi-final. If I'm being honest, I don't really expect us to reach a Champions League final again. I said that last year, so maybe I'll eat my words, but I feel like to consistently make the final of a Champions League is something that is very, very hard to do. Obviously, there's a reason why it's very rarely done in real world football, and for us, obviously, we have a good team, but we don't have a team that realistically can challenge with some of the world-class teams in this save just yet, as was kind of evident perhaps with the game against Real Madrid. If we could reach the semi-final, I'd be more than happy with that, and obviously in the recent years, and despite us reaching the Champions League final, it's not as if I've tried to build off that and just go out there and buy world-class ready-made players. I really am putting a real emphasis on youth, and I'm hoping that's going to pay off long-term. But as a result, I just can't see us challenging that far in the Champions League this year. It feels weird to say that because I feel like there's been very few times where we've taken a step backwards in this save. It's always felt like we're progressing in Europe. We're getting a little bit further. Obviously, there's not much further you can go than a final. So I kind of feel like we've hit that point where there's a chance that this year we just go out in the knockout stages. Or I don't want to say the group stages. That would be bad, but we'll see how things go. It's a bit impossible to kind of hypothesize at this point, isn't it? Anyway, this is the team. As I said, it's absolutely massive, and I kind of hate it. But it's a team that consists of how many players? 34. I normally say a squad should consist of 25 players. There's probably 9 players I should get rid of here. And you'll notice there's a lot of younger players in the first team here. These are the players which I consider to be the best young players we have at the moment in the club who will more than likely play first team football this year. So we'll go through them real quick because they're players who probably deserve a little bit of a spotlight. The first player we have here, Seydou Boka. Contract actually runs out at the end of this year. I want to keep hold of this guy. A very good Ivorian forward. Obviously being declared for the national team, can never play for Gibraltar, but an exceptional attacking player. A player who's been sat in the reserves for a very long time. We got him in on a free from ASEC a few years ago, so some of you may remember him. He's developed well. This year, he might get a few chances in the first team, just depending on injuries, but he's in the first team. I'm hoping that's going to serve him well. The next player we have Ivan Garcia, a player who was in the first team, I think, last year as a backup right winger. He holds down his position this year, but obviously he is now kind of third in command when it comes to the right midfielder position, so a player who's probably going to be more prominent in the reserves. But at 19, a good player, some good technicals, like his physicals as well, can definitely make a difference for us when we need him to. Next player we have, 18 years old, Juan, centre-back, very good centre-back. He's improved a lot, played for the Spanish under-21 side, may find himself back in the reserves, as may a few of these players, because as I said, the squad's pretty bloated at the moment. But a player who I do want to see get some first-team experience this year. Anyway, the next player we have is Vincinius, the Brazilian. Obviously, we signed him this year, very good playmaker, but it is a position that has a lot of competition. But at 18, I think he's definitely got a chance to kind of force his way in there. The next player we have, Richard Atkinson, a really kind of vastly improved player over the last kind of season, really, since he came in. We signed him from Southampton, I want to say. No, it was Derby, I've lied. For £11.5 million. You can see when he played in the league, he played very well, obviously. The league games, I feel like the average ratings, you can't really take a lot from them at the moment, unfortunately. But he's a very good player, great mentals. Very well rounded. He just needs to kind of improve everywhere, and he'll be a top fullback for us. Playing for the England under-21s as well, which is good to see. And the last two players who did get a fair bit of first team football last year. The first player here, Glenn Andre, the Frenchman, very good player, good going forward. can play centre mid, can play centre attacking mid, can play up top. Last year he made 9 league appearances, and that's certainly helped his development, and that's one of the reasons why I do want to get these players more involved in the team. The last player we have, Dominic Eller, German, centre mid, doesn't have an attribute below 8, only has 2 below 10 as well, and that's penalty taken and marking, which I can certainly live with. A very good playmaker, left-footed as well, ton of potential. Will get first-team football this year to try and develop. You can see last year he got 10 appearances, so he got a fair bit of first-team football in league games. Anyway, as I said, you can kind of see how this squad is just a little bit bloated, and it's a weird situation because really I've brought in a lot of players to be backups to the first team just because I didn't quite feel like these youngsters were ready. So for example, players like Magni, Rico, kind of the backup wingers, Stano's still at the club obviously, Teixeira's come in. They're players who I've brought in and I'm hoping are going to have a real positive impact for us. But I feel like having really strong backup for Europe is important. In a league, it's really not important. And I feel like it's very tough to balance the two. And so this year, we have a massive squad. I feel like a lot of these older players you'll see being the backups if we have injuries, if we want to rotate in Europe. Whereas the youngsters will really find a spot in the league games. It's going to be a tricky balance to make. And obviously, if you've played FM this year, you know that players love to whine about lack of first-team football. So I'm very much braced for that. I have no doubt there'll be a few players who get moved on. Maybe in January, certainly at the end of the season. But at least for now, we're just going to play things out, see how they go, and kind of take things from there. Anyway, this is the team which I consider to be our strongest team this year. It's a 4-2-3-1. It's a good team. Obviously, Young in goal, good goalkeeper. People hate him. I don't know why. I love you, Ludwig. You've been a great player for us. Ignore the haters. Left back, we have Cabasele, the Belgian, obviously been at the club a long time now. The back four, it's not changed in a number of years. These players are all familiar with each other. Gaiganov at right back. In the centre of defence, we of course have Assad and Mustafa. Assad obviously back in the Argentina national side, which is good to say. Mustafa performing well as well for Egypt. He broke 100 caps, I believe, over the summer, which is a really good achievement for him. Obviously, just a towering forward in the air, and such a towering centre-back in the air. I guess he could play forward if we needed a player really kind of desperately to play target man, but he isn't going to do that today. Anyway, midfield we go with Mini Mosca and Volsky in kind of the centre mid roles. Mini Mosca broke his leg. He's now playing for the Spanish national team. He bounced back really, really well last year. I'm hoping he can continue to improve as he has done kind of in recent years. Alongside it we have Volsky, such a talented playmaker, 19 passing, 17 vision, good decisions, good first touch, very good player for us. Hopefully the 24-year-old can have a good season this year because he needs one really. Anyway, at centre attacking mid we go with Gilvan, the Brazilian. This guy, I don't know, I didn't realise this. He is so well suited to play the centre attacking mid role, and it's where he's going to play for us as the attacking midfielder this year. This was a position that was very often kind of occupied by Girard, but I feel like Girard has to play up front now. He really did establish himself last year, getting 60-odd goals, and I feel like it'd be somewhat criminal not to play him up top today. Anyway, left mid, Paul Smith, Australian, lots of goals from him, 32 years old now, still got it in him. His physicals have not really started to deteriorate yet, which is good to see. Anyway, on the right we do have Junior here. He's got a fractured wrist, so he probably won't be playing in today's Pepe Reyes Cup game, but he is our starting kind of right midfielder. And then up front we have the man, the myth, the legend, Sebastian Girard. What a player this guy is, such a good kind of goal scorer. Last year I got a few kind of criticisms from you guys in the comments for not playing him as a centre attacking mid. I feel like he probably will play centre attacking mid a fair bit for us, and I think it's a role that he can play for us very well, as you can kind of see by kind of where his key attributes are. And the reason that I think he will play more centre attacking mid, even though people don't seem to like that, is the fact that we have Hughes here, who in himself is just a fantastic forward who it's very difficult to drop. And I do feel like Hughes and Girard play off each other really, really well. Obviously, both from the Belgium national team, two kind of golden boys of their generation, certainly for their national team, and them playing together. There's definitely an understanding between those two players. And of course, the other reason why Girard might play centre attacking mid is because we've got Mosca, and we want to play Mosca. He's not as good as he has been. When he came into the club, he was the kind of the wonder kid, the game beat. Obviously, he was out last year for such a long time. In his place, Hughes and Girard really have developed. And I mean, if we just compare Mosca to Hughes, who obviously is a good player, you can see the difference there. You know, Mosca perhaps a little bit more of a finisher in terms of his technicals. You know, the fact he has good dribbling, finishing and first touch there, free technicals. I always look for in my forwards. Baduz is just such a well-rounded player, amazing in the air as well, which is something that I do like in a lone forward. So these two probably going to be fighting out a lot of the time for the kind of striker role in the side. But anyway, that's the team that we have, and that's the team that I consider to be my best team going forward. We do have to make some changes today because, as I said, Junior is actually out injured. One of the options I'd have is to bring in Ivan Garcia or Rico. And I think it's actually going to be Rico who we play today. The Spanish player, very good determination. He is in the process of tutoring someone. I can't remember who I set him to tutor now. But he is a good right winger, obviously new to the side. Let's see what he can do today. His dribbling does let him down a little bit, but with the exception of that, just a really, really good winger for us. And yeah, I think this is the team we're going to go with. I do want to quickly just sort out my bench. I'm not going to play Salcedo today. I'm going to leave him out, but we are going to go goalkeeperless. We're going to risk it for a chocolate biscuit, and I do like my biscuits. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I've had to cut there. I've not been very well this week, and I had to go and blow my nose. I was struggling to talk, which is generally not a good thing when it comes to doing commentaries. That is another reason why there has been a lack of videos over the last week, if you've noticed it, is because I have been ill, I have been off work. But I feel better now, at least I have my voice back. I did make a few more changes here. To be honest, we have such a talented kind of squad now and so much diversity. Then this kind of Pedro Ramirez Cup game where I'm only allowed to have 5 subs, it's kind of a little bit tricky. I think this is what we'll go with though. We're going into our 101st meeting ever with Gibraltar Lions. Let's hopefully slay them today. This is the team we're going to go with. So the bench has changed a little bit. Horst is there, former player, of course, of Lions. We do have Duz and Mosk on the bench as well. So if we really want to bring on some attacking players in this game, we have options there. I don't really know what to expect from Gibraltar Lions this year. Of course, they've given us some tough games in recent times. They did memorably, kind of some years ago now, beat us in a I'm trying to think, was it the Rock Cup final they beat us in? There was one game where they beat us and I was very annoyed about it. They've still not beaten us in the league, but they have given us some really good games, and we have drawn with them a few times, and I do feel like there's a sense of inevitability in some regards that our unbeaten run that we have been going on is going to come to an end eventually in the league. But let's try and make it continue here. I guess not the league winning run, but just our dominance over Gibraltar Lions, our rivals. And actually, we're on the attack here. Some really nice play. Paul Smith, Cabasele whips it in, back post. Rico is there. Welcome to the club, Noel. And, well, we've asked Noel deal or no deal. He said deal. He's come to the club. He scores within 3 minutes. The right winger. Not a bad way to introduce yourself. 10 dribbling on a winger, they said. They said he couldn't do anything. It turns out he's exceptional at turning up at the back post and putting the ball in the net. Cabasele. Paul Smith, some nice interplay there, just a quick 1-2. Ball first time by Cabasele, back post. Rico comes lunging in. He gets there, he loves it. And, well, it's 1-0. That is the start we wanted there against Gibraltar Lions, kind of our fierce rivals in this league. And hopefully we can obviously build off that now and, well, continue to beat them. Apparently we're struggling with possession, which they're not lying about, our system. We are struggling a little bit. Will Keane, he's got a point, but we're going to stick with what we're doing right now because we are in the lead and, well, Lions haven't had a ton of chances and maybe I'm going to jinx that here because they are on the attack, although Cabasele, nice interception. Lions, though, still with the ball, cross to the back post. Svoboda is there and he scores. It's 1-1. It's not what I wanted to see. I wanted a demolition job. I wanted to absolutely destroy them. That is not what we've seen here. And actually, a cross into the back post. Was it Mustafa? It was Mustafa who missed it. Everyone hashtag sell Mustafa. Actually, it was an own goal. It's taking a deflection around the keeper from Assad. Right, blame Assad. Hashtag Assad out. Hashtag Mustafa out. Don't write hashtags on YouTube. Don't be that guy. Assad. Okay, never mind. Take it all back. He's heard what people were writing. He heard you guys scroll down off the video, start typing out Assad out. He turns up and goes, no, don't do that. This is what I can offer. I think it's just hit him and gone in. I don't feel like he's actually swung a foot at that. But it's a centre-back's goal. We'll take it. The near post corner, working wonders. That said, Lions on the attack again here. Fernando, now with Traore, now with Niguez. Tackled away by Gilvan. Now can we counter? Gerard tries to switch the play to Noel. Noel can't get there. And, well, it's back with them now. Although Mustafa, the towering centre-back, wins it back. Nice interplay here at the back. Big ball over. I mean, it's a little bit hoofball. It's a little bit Lincoln City, but I'll allow it. Rico whips it in. Gerard looks offside. I don't think it is offside. It's not. It's 3-1. Maybe we can get that demolition job that I asked for when we conceded the goal. Rico again involved in the play, which is good to say. Actually beats his man there. 10 dribbling at work. Back post, Girard is there, tap in, bang. Really, well, good debut for Rico, I think it's fair to say. One to remember, perhaps. And, well, we need to try and deal with this here now. As Lions are on the attack, Fernando cutting inside. Now to Volsky, Girard. It's not a great pass, but we still got the ball. Rico works some magic, Girard, he's through. Can he finish it? No, he can't. Solo with the save, just collects it. And, well, it's 3-1, and at half-time, maybe there's... I was about to say, maybe we're just going to go in like that. Rico's on the play again. Oh, Smith should have buried it. Rico wanted another assist. It's a class save, to be fair, by the Gibraltar Lions goalkeeper. I don't know why I've got Lincoln on my mind. I talk about Lincoln City hoofball footballers when he went to Central Bank a number of times during the league football glory days, despite being from Boston and being a Boston fan. I mean, you have to watch some form of football, and it was Lincoln or Grimsby, and I feel like I made the right decision out of those two, but I don't know why I'm talking about them. Why has that come up? Why is that in my mind? Is it because I was talking about Lincoln Red Imps' kit earlier? That might be it. I don't know. And so I guess Lincoln did well in the Champions League, didn't they? To beat Celtic in the home leg. I had a lot of people tweet me about that, which was kind of interesting. And of course, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You should follow me. Links down in the description, although it might not be. If it's not, please tell me off. Right, we need to defend. Well, we've gone off on a weird tangent here. Let's slay the Lions. Let's kill them. Girard gets tackled. I mean, he's not played great as the lone forward. I might make a change here. I'll probably score now, just to shut me up. Menta back to Solo. To Svoboda. It's a hoofball. They're playing 4-5-1, Lincoln. Not Lincoln, Lions. God, send help. Gibraltar Lions. So they're playing a 4-5-1 with a flat 5 midfield. Rico, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, he's just... Oh, hey, Rico. Noel. I think we should call him Noel. The issue is, if I call him Noel, I just think of Noel Edmonds. That was the Deal or No Deal reference earlier, if you missed it. If you don't know who Noel Edmonds is, he's a TV presenter here in England, and I guess in the United Kingdom. Paul Smith, nice header. Goes in, easy peasy. And he even does a dab for a celebration. Rico having a man of the match performance. Gilvan not having the best game. Let's take off Gilvan. Let's move Girard back, and let's bring on Dews. Let's see what he can do. Paul Smith struggling a little bit. I don't have an alternative for Paul Smith, unfortunately. Mini Moscow also struggling a little bit. Let's bring in Joe Bouchard. Let's get on some fresh legs. Let's give Joe a chance to kind of fight against his long rivals here in terms of Gibraltar Lions. Let's hopefully get a few more. 4-1, looking comfortable. Girard playing that deeper role. Let's see if it makes a difference. Rico crosses it in. I thought he was about to get another assist for the charts. Dews to Smith. Whips it in. Girard. I mean, that's why I play Girard at attacking midfield. Immediately, in off the bar. I want to believe this was an overhead kick. But I think it's going to be one of those impossible headers that you see. Please be an overhead kick. That would make my life. I don't think it is. It's hard to tell in 2D. Overhead? No, just a header. Just a header. I wanted it to be an overhead. When you watch in 2D, the suspense of waiting for a 3D highlight when a ball looks like it's come off at an impossible angle for it to have been headed is always good. Anyway, 5-1. It's gone pretty well this game, hasn't it? I mean, it was 1-1 at one point. I was a little bit worried, but the team's fought on. Girard's played well. Rico's played amazingly out on the right, to be fair. Let's just try and defend now. Let's try and not necessarily shut up shop, but I feel like we can defend a little bit better than we have done so far in this game. We're on the attack counter. Can we make it happen? Dews to Paul Smith. Rico's at the back post. Give it to Noel. Well, he couldn't get there. I was just staring at Noel at the top. Number 39, an iconic number. I really should have numbered him number 22 because that's how many boxes there are in Deal or No Deal. Is that still on TV? I don't even know. Right, they've hit the post. This has been a weird live com. I have to apologise. The sleep deprivation of being ill has apparently got to me. But we're still on the attack. We want 6. Volsky, can he get the ball in? Girard, edge of the box, looking for the hat-trick, of course. Volsky, options in the middle. To Rico, Noel, crosses it in. It's gone in. I don't know how it's gone in. I think it's an own goal. It is. Boussaid, the transfer from Monaco, who I actually said looked quite good. With an interesting own goal, I think it's fair to say. Rico whips it in. I think it's headed here by Dews. No, it's not. Okay. Dupont heads it at the player on the post. Does that mean Rico gets the third assist? Does that count? No. It doesn't, because the assist was also a Lions player heading it into his own man. Interesting defending there by Gibraltar Lions. A hint of non-league football about it. We want 7 now. Please. I said please, so it should happen, right? Dupont cuts inside. Svoboda, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say please. Maybe I shouldn't. It's just dawned on me. We've scored 6 goals from 3 clear-cut chances and 3 half chances. If that is not clinical, I don't know what is. Svoboda just got an edge of pace on Mustafa, who was just caught a little bit flat-footed. But it shouldn't matter. They're not going to score 4 now. I hope. That would be one hell of a collapse. 1 minute left. That's going to be all she wrote. It's going to finish 6-2. I wanted 7. We didn't get 7. Rico got a dead leg. Apparently I should have subbed him as quickly as possible. The injury only happened a minute ago. He'll be fine, I hope. And not a bad win. 6-2. We win at the Victoria Stadium, of course, our former ground. Very happy with the football we played. Rico with a man of the match performance as well. Hopefully that dead leg is not going to be... Well, it's a dead leg. You'd hope it's not going to be a long-term injury, really. We've got Steaua Bucharest on Wednesday. I don't know if I'm going to live-com that game, though, because I do expect us to beat them quite convincingly. Rico out for 2 to 3 days, so he will be back. Although we do have Junior coming back as well on the right-hand side. Oh, I've just remembered. I was sacking McNeese. Why did I sack him? Oh, because his judging player ability and potential was really low, and it was annoying me, because for some reason, whenever I clicked on a player... his star ratings were the ones defaultly showing, and that triggered me. Although now it's Duarte who's defaultly showing. Oh, I don't even know. Send help. Right. Anyway, I don't know where we are. Why did I sack McNeese? There was a reason. I just can't remember what it was. I think it's to do with his judging potential and ability. Was there anything else that I sacked him for? I can't remember. Can we bring him back? Let's give him the Gibraltar national team job as coach. I feel bad. I got rid of him because of his poor judging. He declined it. Well, that's harsh. I don't know why he doesn't want to come. Anyway, I'm sorry, Jonathan. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's going to be all from me, guys, for today. Hopefully you did enjoy. As I said, I apologise for the lack of videos. I could have mentioned it a little bit earlier. But I've not been very well. I'm still not 100%. But hopefully you have enjoyed today's episode. A longer one as well. Almost 8 minutes long. So yeah, thank you for watching as already said. If you got to this point, please let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you make of my transfers. Are there any good youngsters we brought in? You know, where do you think? Here's something for you. Leave down in the comments. Where will we finish in the Champions League this year? Let me know where you think. Obviously, winners would be optimal, but as I said, I just can't see us doing it for a 3rd year in a row, getting to a final. But anyway, that is all from me, guys. As I said already, hopefully you enjoyed. And other than that, it isn't me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.